A podcast? What is a podcast? Well, scholars have theorized that the concept survived from the early 1500s when William Podcaster Jr. had casual chats with his ex-best friend Barney Wheelbarrow in the public square in what would later be known as Michigan. The concepts of inane banter in public spaces continued throughout the ages, mainly through idiots and easy access to microphones and streaming platforms. However, the concept, I find to be rather silly. I mean, how interesting can they be? I mean, people just sit and talk, right? That's it. They just sit and talk to one another. I mean, at that point, might as well just have a conversation with someone instead of actually going over and doing that. Well, Sir Ian, can you really not? We're trying to have our podcast. I just don't see the point in just having this other thing. Well, please, it's just we got to get viewers in here. You're supposed to support us and not make fun of us. Well, it seems you're doing a great job of that yourself. All right, but well, you know, I was in the theater, so I'll just exit stage right. I'll see you all.
Oh man, I liked Ian McKellen.
It cost like an arm and a leg to get him out here. Like, I'm actually kind of pissed. Well, anyway, I guess fuck, I guess I'll do this. So anyway, welcome back. Well, get ready to yar your hearts and be still your hearts. It's time for One with the Films. I here am the co-captain of this here rust bucket, and I'll dance with De Niro like that any day. But I'm not alone. I'm here with the boy telling the story of how he became a man through the fantasy of Charlie Cox. It's my boy, Naff. Absolutely show that skin on an audio-based podcast.
Just a little nipple for you. That's why you guys should check out
Just
Live.
a little bit. That's what... Who needs OnlyFans when you have us?
Only films,
We're
baby.
only films. Only films. And now as we continue on, we are not alone in our aloneness, because we have a dear friend of the show with us today, a first-time guest, however, a long supporter of Naff and I's friendship.
He's basically
some
family.
Call him, I mean, some could say family is ride or die. He is a star in his own right, someone who's too fast and too curious to have waited another week to appear on this show. Beaming straight down from the cosmos, straight into your headphones, we got Marley on the phone. Get over here, Marley. Introduce yourself, you my fine friend. How you doing today?
I think I've ever had a more elaborate and well done intro on a podcast. Like I love all of your intros, Keegan, and I feel like that one totally knocked me off my feet. Like,
how does it feel to finally be a part of it? You know, like.
Yes.
This is what he does. This is what he does.
This is the only reason I'm here. But no,
and
Marley,
Kit
seriously,
in chat gave us a loud applause.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm really glad that we're all here together. And Marley, we've obviously been wanting to get you on the pod for a very long time. And again, truly from the bottom of my heart, you guys, you have been one of the biggest supporters of this podcast. We've kind of been in the similar friend group and similar kind of influencer group together, and it's been a very, very cool experience getting a chance to get to know you over the years, and to finally have you here with this film nonetheless is just incredible. So from the bottom of my heart, just know how incredible it is to have you on the podcast.
Yeah,
I'm glad you're here as well.
I was so tempted.
Well done, Matt.
I was so tempted to bring Fast and Furious to the One with the Films, but I don't want to bring trauma to this episode of One with the Films.
You wouldn't be able to bring
Fair.
Fast and the Furious because that may be coming soon. Just saying.
We have some like here's the thing. If there's a this is for anybody listening. I'm not going to say what it is, but I'm going to say it's the biggest guest we've ever had. Like is truly like I fangirled out loud when we actually got the confirmation email.
Vin Diesel coming to One with the Films.
Hey, spoilers, okay, spoilers.
You can't come on, Marley. I told you that in confidence. I'm just going.
Kenny in chat said we had to hit the Fox theme music, and Kit told us that we're too sass, too serious. I love it. It's almost as good as Too By Too Curious.
No, Too By Too Curious still takes the cake. Too By Too Curious is still the most the most like the unused title that like anyway.
Yeah.
But Nav, as we continue going on today, obviously, why the hell are we here?
Why are we here?
Why
first,
are we here?
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you exactly why we're here. We're here for a One With The Films episode. This is a weekly watch list, which is one of the segments that we do here. And you can find One With The Films anywhere you get your podcasts. So that's either Apple, Spotify. We're also live and on demand on YouTube too, so you can check us out wherever.
Yeah, if you want to contribute to the conversation, or let's say the film that we're doing next week, because we will be announcing it at the end of this episode. So we'll be giving you kind of a week's notice in advance of what to do. But if you're listening in live, you get that because sometimes life happens and we don't always post the episode when we want to. So we want to make sure that you get the best experience possible. And if you tune in live, you get to know exactly what the next one's going to be.
Hell yeah.
So you get a chance to come and contribute. And let's say that's one of your favorite films. Hop in here, contribute to the conversation, be a part of the family.
And Kenny successfully our guest that's coming on as Johnny Depp. So, yep, that's the one.
Absolutely. You know, one of the
I don't know what kind of controversy would follow that.
Hey, listen, at this point,
any publicity is good publicity, right?
You know what I mean? At this point, I feel that that's the case. Yeah. Why don't we just dive straight into it?
So long-time listeners will know exactly what you're in for. However, for the uninitiated or those who spontaneously stumbled across our little corner of the internet when you were looking for Beyond the Screenplay or Films to be Buried With, you get the best of both worlds here. You get Brett Goldstein's hairiness in K, fantastic guests, and an insufferable urge to dive deep into everything we watch, just like Michael Tucker and his team as well. So the weekly watch list is what we're doing here today, and it has this cheeky little gimmick we love, where in every episode ever, someone is watching one of someone else's favorite films for the first time. And then we hang out here and we talk about it all afternoon, or for a little slice of the afternoon. It's the best place to be if you're working through that pesky watch list of yours, or if you're looking to add a few more items to it. Either way, welcome. We're so happy to have you. We love you.
Absolutely. And again, thank you guys for tuning in for our couple people in our TikTok live as well as in our YouTube. We have some of our old returners and new faces, and that's always what we love to have. And if you didn't catch last week's episode, Naf did a solo episode with the movie The Signal. And who was it that you had on? Disturb.
Yeah, so their name is Dreamscape Visuals. So Nick, the photographer.
Yeah.
Sorry, one more time in English.
You heard me.
Dreamscape Visuals. That episode is available to listen to on Spotify as well if you want to. There's a couple of audio issues there which I tried to fix up, so apologies in advance if you can't handle it. That being said, we know what film we're talking about today, but you guys may not know yet. So why don't we introduce that film first? So Marley, you chose our film of this week. I'd love for you to let us know what we're talking about.
Are talking about Matthew Vaughn's Stardust. Also, it's based on the novel by Neil Gaiman as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I have some cool fun facts about that, which I'll dive into, and then we'll have a little bit of a chat as to why you chose this movie in particular. And I know that some of the guys in chat as well have a lot of love for this film too. So yeah, guys, feel free to tell us all your favorite things about it. We've got a few topics that we're going to touch on as well, but we always love to hear your thoughts too. So what do you guys reckon? You want some fun facts on the film? Yeah. All right. Cool. Marley, you don't seem so excited.
I like some fun.
You like
some fun?
All right. Cool. Well,
I like some fun. I like some facts.
Well, great. That's exactly what I'm here for. So, released in 2007 and directed by Matthew Vaughn, who you might know from one good Kingsman film and low-key the best X-Men film that is not Logan. He penned the script alongside Jane Goldman, adapting the story by Neil Gaiman, who actually granted him the rights for free, saying he trusted Vaughn both as a friend and as someone who stuck to his word, something that he considers a rarity in Hollywood. It stars Charlie Cox in the lead role. Go ahead.
Sorry, Nat. I'm going to stop you. You said one good Kingsman film?
Yes.
Because I think that second one's actually not that bad.
Golden Circle?
And then there's Golden Circle. I thought Golden Circle was okay.
I said what I
Sorry.
said. They're facts.
Are you gonna?
Do you remember where it was fun facts? I said what I said. I'm happy to have that conversation with you at another time, Molly.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, listen, man. I had this. Don't even get me started. Like this man could turn your opinion around on any movie.
That's what I do. That's why it's
Like-
on second thought, right? Your initial thought is the Golden Circle was good. After you talk to me, you'll realize why it's bad.
And
He
also,
only
it's
has
like,
one
there's-
wrong opinion.
That film series has like a more crazier naming convention than Fast and the Furious, because it's like
That is
Kingsman,
correct.
It's like Kingsman,
Two
then
King,
Kingsman
two
Golden
Man.
Circle, and then the
Kingsman.
King's
The
Man.
Kingsman.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, which is ridiculous.
And if you haven't seen
Continue.
Kingsman, Kenny, definitely check out just the first one. So, this film stars Charlie Cox in the lead role because Vaughn wanted someone unknown who could play a dork that could easily transition into a gentleman. I don't know why he didn't cast me. So, with a budget of 80 million, it brought in 137 million during its box office run, and it took home a handful of awards such as Best Fantasy from the Academy of Sci-Fi, Fantasy, and Horror USA, and Empire Awards UK, and it won Overlooked Film of the Year from the Phoenix Film Critics Society. It has a 7.6 out of 10 on IMDb from nearly 300,000 reviews and 3.6 out of 5 on Letterboxd. Featuring narration by Ian McKellen, it has the vibe, for sure, taking a lot of inspiration from the fantasy films of both that era and those long before, resulting in a very unique and quirky tone, while showcasing longtime Hollywood heavyweights such as De Niro, Michelle Pfeiffer, and featuring a score by Ilan Eshkeri, who previously worked with Vaughn on Layer Cake, and then went on to compose music for the incredible Ghost of Tsushima video game that came out in 2020, among many other TV series and films. That was one of my favorite fun facts. When we look at
you put
this-
that kind of effort into it.
yeah, I went deep on that one. The
You
story. So this is interesting as well, actually. So the story was originally a graphic novel with art by Charles Vess, and that was released in 1997. Then it was adapted into a traditional novel and republished by Gaiman in 99. So graphic novel first, and it was published by DC Comics. It filmed from April 2006 to July 2006, and features over 800 VFX shots, which were completed nearly a year later in Feb 2007. It's a pretty impressive feat for the time, and if you guys have seen it, like the visual effects are really interesting. And that's something that I want to dive into a little bit later as well. So that's my fun facts. How do we feel, guys? Was it fun? Was it factual? I know it was factual.
It's very fun and factual, but I got one more little fun fact.
Hit me,
It's
baby, one more
kinda
time.
It's a little Neil Gaiman fun fact, and
Yeah.
I always find this kind of stuff like interesting because like it's actually on the behind the scenes on the Blu-ray for Stardust, and it was I found it really fascinating that like one day he was just like out in the countryside and just saw a shooting star coming across the sky, and he was just like, I wonder, you could probably find that like one of these days. And like one of these days he just went to a shop, like grabbed like a pen and paper and just started writing this story about this like guy going to go find like this star that fell from the sky. I'm like, I love like when stories just like spark like the interest of like someone, and
Yeah.
knowing that it just was just something like he just looked up like one of these days and just wrote a
And
story.
you
based
gotta
off
know
that.
his friends were like, "What?"
Yeah, dude, why?
And you're like, "Yeah, the star is a person."
I think that what he left
And you're like,
out...
"Huh?"
I think what he left out of that story is particularly how much acid he was probably on when he saw that shooting star.
Well, yeah, true.
Like,
But that's Neil Gaiman in general.
Oh, yeah.
he's a trippy boy. He's a trippy boy.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, so Marley, you brought this film for us. I'm curious, Keegan, what was your kind of relationship to this film or your knowledge about this before we booked it and obviously before watching it?
So I had an interesting experience with this one. Like, well, one was so for the movie, I had no clue this was ever a movie. If it like again, it was very much like hearing the cast because Naf was talking about like Charlie Cox and Michelle Pfeiffer, Robert De Niro. I was like, oh my god, what is this movie? And then Neil Gaiman, and you have my interest right there. And I remember looking at this and going like, oh my god, this is. How have I never heard of this movie? And I think when I was in Edinburgh, there was at some point I was at a bookshop and I ended up purchasing a Neil Gaiman book because when they started talking about The Wall, it's like, that was is this the same Neil Gaiman book I bought like what, like randomly off a shelf somewhere? And I think it is, because it's like it sounded very familiar. But I gotta say, this is not the story I was expecting. And yeah, so Nav, what about you? Did you know? Because I think that you and I were in a similar boat of this is one of those films that we didn't know shit about.
Yeah. I definitely have some thoughts on this. I don't know if you guys are reading the TikTok chat right now, but that is unhinged. Marley, you have a fan in chat for sure.
Yeah, let me just block that person real quick.
It's
Hold on.
Oh my
It's
god,
TikTok. It's TikTok.
it's TikTok.
I mean, I'm here for it. If somebody
Thank
gave me
you
compliments
for-
like that, I'm here for it. But
Yeah, that says a lot more about us than it does
yeah,
Marley.
damn.
Like,
Okay, well-
that really does kind of go full tilt there.
yeah,
Right.
absolutely it does. 19. So, getting back to that
So
point-
Naf, let's get back on track here. So Naf, you saw this film.
Mhm.
What did you know about this shit before like all of this?
So I think that I had heard about it in passing. I think I was talking with my little brother, and I think he may have mentioned Charlie Cox did like a fantasy film like ages ago, and that's about it. Because like most people, I watched Daredevil and became obsessed with this man, and
For sure.
I wanted more, but I haven't seen much. And I've gone pretty far back. Like I've seen, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but Charlie Cox has this short film on YouTube that he made with his friends, where, man, what is it? Essentially, they hire a sex worker, and they're trying to figure out who's going to pay her and stuff. If you guys haven't seen it, I'll find it and I'll link it to you afterwards. But it is on YouTube, and it was hilarious, like really good comedy from like the early 2000s that just a couple of guys made in a house. And as it is, as is the kind of theme on things that I really like. I always like things that I watch and I go, me and Keegan would make that. We would write that. That's what we would put up. So yeah, that's essentially it. That being said, the actual connection to the film, I would say that I had little knowledge on. When I was asking you, Marley, what film you wanted to bring, and you mentioned Stardust, I saw it. I saw the poster. I was like, I'm in. I'm sold. Also,
It was similar reaction to David bringing in Rain of Fire.
Rain of Fire, yeah.
Where both of us like look at the poster, and then I remember with Rain of Fire specifically, I told Naf, I was like, okay, look at this poster, right? Now look at this poster a little bit harder. And just going like, just to notice the details here, just to notice these things. And when you realize that it's not only a dragon, it's a dragon in London, but it's not like Victorian London. There's Apache attack helicopters at the corner.
Yeah,
And I'm like, and this is a similar feeling of going, huh?
How did we
And the
miss
more
this one?
screen grabs Nav would send to me for our thumbnails, the more confused I got.
Exactly, yeah. And then you watch it and you go, I'm obsessed. And that kind of happened with this film a little bit. So, like I said, I had no real prior knowledge. You mentioned it, Marley. I was like, cool, I'm sold, I'm in. And then I sat down to watch the film. And I did some of our promo pics and stuff beforehand. So I was trying to put together what the story was.
Same.
So in some instances, you have Charlie Cox with long hair, and in others he has short hair, and the girl is the same in both. And so my thought was like, is it a story that starts here and then moves to like something later? And as the film starts, you've got the perspective of his dad, who is Ben Barnes is the actor. And apparently a lot of people who've watched this film wanted Ben Barnes to play Tristan. However, Vaughn decided against that because he wanted a nobody. So as I was watching the film, I was trying to unravel the story, and I thought, okay, is Ben Barnes' character, is that like a young version, and then Charlie Cox is like the grown-up version? I don't know. And then he's got long hair later, so how are we going to do like the passage of time? I'm unclear, not sure. Then we get into it, and as I'm actually sitting down to watch the film, it's starting, and my housemate gets home, and I hear them come in and just scurry to the side and start watching the movie from essentially the side of the theater room that I've got. And they're going, I love this film so much. And I'm like, you've heard of it? Like I've not had conversations with them about movies before. So I don't know what they're really into. We just kind of live in the same house. So they're telling me that they've seen this movie 15 times and it's one of their favorite movies of all time, and I'm sitting here going, oh my god, I can't believe it. And I've just started it, like it's all good. And they just stood there and watched, and I was like, sit down, come sit down, watch the movie with me. So I ended up watching this movie with my housemate, which was nice, kind of like the first moment that we've actually had like doing something, I guess, like together. And we watched the movie,
Shout
had a
out to Naf's
fantastic time.
housemate.
Yeah. But they like experiencing it with someone who loves it. Also, I was watching, I had the biggest goofy smile on my face, and I loved every second of this. So, long story short, I didn't know anything going into the film, and my housemate did.
Cool. So now that question's out of the way, but no, like that was the theme that I was seeing as we were posting and things like that. That a lot of people like this has that kind of like cult classic-ish vibe, and so obviously, Marley, I kind of want to know from your perspective, your journey with this film before we get into kind of more of the legit. Let's get into this film and get into full-on spoilers and things.
Why did you think that this film needed to be on one with the films? And I'd also love to expand on Keegan's question. How did you come to find this film?
Part of the reason why I wanted this, what was that?
No, you were you like muted for a second, then you were fine.
Oh, okay.
You're
Part
good.
of the reason why I wanted to bring this on one of the films, because I feel like I know you guys like really well.
Yeah.
And like Keegan, I know you're a big fan of just D&D and just fantasy.
Yeah.
And
This is
now
very
if you
much
just
given
kind of
D&D
gravitate.
story.
You just gravitate like to really anything that Keegan does, just because you are just bond to him just by just
He's
just
bound to
every
me, okay?
form of attraction.
Fuck you, man. Like I'm
And-
dragging you along with me.
So with that, like I knew that both of you would really love this because of like the whole fantasy aspect, and like you're big fans of Game of Thrones, and like I'm not one of those people. I've never really was able to kind of like get drawn into like fantasy. I always kind of found it very overwhelming to kind of like get into. I've never watched a single episode of Game of Thrones, but I saw this film in the theaters. I saw this film in the theaters in 2007. I remember because I don't think I was working in the theater at the time, and I was just like, this looks really cool. Michelle Pfeiffer, I like Michelle Pfeiffer. Mother, like
Yeah, absolutely.
Mommy Pfeiffer.
Mother
100%.
Pfeiffer.
Mother
And
Pfeiffer, yes.
I just was completely like floored by like everything like that was like that I was taking in. I love just like I love like the romance too, and just kind of like young love, and how this film kind of like portrayed that, and just like Charlie Cox just being kind of like a I don't want to call him a bumbling idiot, but he kind of was.
I think she calls him that,
but-
doesn't she? Like that's one of the first things she says to him.
Yeah. So I just absolutely love this, and then after watching it, I just started watching more and more Matthew Vaughn stuff, and his whole career is really fascinating to me. Like I know we're gonna have a talk afterwards about Kingsman, but Argyle, like that's coming out later this year, I think in February,
Very excited for
is
that.
just like his entire filmography to me is just like really fascinating, because it seems like there's nothing that he'll turn down at this point.
Truly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful, man. And I think that particularly like the TikTok that you did earlier talking about, and particularly the video that you stitched that was like films that nobody's talking about anymore, is the interesting one. And I found that also to talk to Kit's point in chat, they said that this is truly a comfort movie, and I can feel that. I did feel like wrapped up in like I was lying down on the couch like, oh my god, I'm loving this. So yeah, I was ready for that to become my full personality.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like continuing on with that, like it's one of those films that Naf and I talked a little bit about this off stream, where what we were talking about was that this film, it feels very much akin to some of the films that we've covered before, like Legend, Reign of Fire, Labyrinth. Obviously, Kit in chat brought Labyrinth to us and things like that. It falls into this category that when I saw the date of the film, it was in an odd placement, because I'm like, this film was simultaneously ahead of its time, and like it was ahead of its time, but also there was a certain genre of films that was released in like, you know, kind of the 90s that was really effective in this genre, and then this felt like it was the logical evolution of that. But before we go too far into it, I want to give everybody a little bit of a warning. We are going to be doing a spoiler filled discussion. Now, while we won't necessarily be doing purely spoiler filled things, we're not doing a play-by-play, but we won't be avoiding spoilers. Like, you can always come back later if you want to go in fresh, but feel free to stick around even if you haven't seen it, as it might end up making you more interested in seeing it. So with that ado, and you know, if you know, you had your warning, so there it goes, there it went. Charlie Cox dies.
Well, no,
we-
hit pause on
Oh,
your
sorry,
player,
that was-
and then
Oh, sorry,
Oh,
that was
sorry.
Daredevil. Never mind.
Okay.
Sorry, no, I was just got wrong series.
Yeah,
but,
and for the TikTok, Wardersky, what's the movie we're watching? Or we watched Stardust, 2007. So yeah, and Marianne loves this movie, and it's actually, Eliana, it's Friday, but we moved it a day early, so yeah. But hey, guys,
you are correct. We're weird.
Yeah,
And so, as we and going further with that, speaking of weird, let's talk about Neil Gaiman's mind. And so, like, let's talk about the lovely place that it is. In terms of world building, my buddy and I, we were just talking about Miyazaki, and I feel Gaiman is in a similar camp to Miyazaki in the sense of they both create worlds so effortlessly, so like, sure, that's all right, okay, so that's how this works, but they just approach every project that they do with such confidence in their world building that it leaves the audience going, I can't question it because you're not questioning it. Like, and I gotta say that, like, from the jump, this, I mean, I've seen Good Omens. That's basically the only other like Neil Gaiman thing I've watched. But the thing that's very clear about everything Neil Gaiman does is it's stylized as fuck, and I love it. I love that it's like, this is what it is, unapologetically what it is. And going with the world building, obviously, Marley, since you just said you're not really into fantasy, you're not really into that kind of stuff, so you don't have that predisposition to like this, like myself or maybe Naf would. I'm curious what worked for you about this world that really got you into the story, that really got you into this to be able to sort of, I don't know, to be actually interested in a fantasy story.
I think for me, it's the characters that really
Oh, yeah.
that kind of like draw me in. Like I know, like, called like Tristan like a bumbling idiot, but he's a very lovable, and you want him to succeed.
Yeah.
And like you kind of feel bad for him because like the first scene, like where he is basically I can't remember like the character's name, but Sienna Miller. She
Yeah.
like he's basically trying to like throw himself at her, and she is making fun of him the entire time.
Oh,
And
yeah.
like just me as like an audience member, I'm just like, oh, you poor soul. I saw a lot
Yeah.
of myself. I saw a lot of myself in Tristan, just because I've
We
been
all
in that
do.
situation. I consider myself a hopeless romantic, and see like and just try and imagine myself in scenarios with like partners, and just like even though I know that like that situation wouldn't work. So I saw a lot of myself in Tristan. So I feel, and like I know you guys talked like in multiple episodes about the representation and like kind of and seeing yourself on screen, and I definitely for sure saw myself like interested, like for sure, like at least like personally, not like the way I physically look. And I feel like that was kind of like a main factor for sure.
Absolutely. Well, and speaking of people that, you know, are often pining for love, Naf, how do you feel about, like, you know, the sort of representation in this film, and, you know, just seeing yourself on screen, seeing someone with you know, just such a penchant for interacting with general people in life, and, you know, just I'm really curious to know how you relate to the awkward person in the room, like, because I just saw a lot of you in this, and just sort of felt that. So I'm so sorry.
No, you are totally okay. Now, one of the neighbors is like mowing the lawn or something. So if you hear that in the background, I'm sorry. So I'm just muted in between so that hopefully doesn't talk about it too much. But hearing people talk about like Robert De Niro and having like LGBTQ characters and stuff in there too is amazing. And Kit talking about Yvaine being so mean and loving her eternally. Slay.
Oh yeah.
Charlie Cox being the cutest human alive, that is why I relate to him so much. I think
that is correct.
I too am very, very cute.
Resemblance too, Naf. I can see the resemblance.
Yeah.
Totally.
You both have those eyes that you just get lost into. Like it's one of those things where you just stare at those eyes and you're just like, I want to help him.
Oh my god.
And you're like, but
you want to help him?
like,
wow. I thought it was going a completely different
now?
direction. I don't blush. This
well,
is
I
just
want to help him
complexion.
do things to me. Like
that being said, I love him a lot in this film. I've loved him in other stuff too, and like, funnily enough, Daredevil was a cosplay that I wanted to pull off at some point. Pause. I'm kidding.
We'll do both. We'll do both.
Still can.
Yeah. I'm really keen to do that at some point. I love the black suit Daredevil. Really simple. Like,
we'll talk. I'll do the red suit. You do the black suit.
perfect. So on
I'll do the Punisher and you do the other thing because I am the white guy.
easy. Sure. You definitely seem like you'd shoot up a school.
Yeah, that's true. But that's sort of a
Roasted. I got you back, baby. I got you back.
roasted.
So
Fair point. Fair hit.
So yes, I did find that I related to him quite a bit, and I like that a lot. Like you were saying, Marley, I think that it's an experience that most people do have in their life, like that feeling of like wanting something so bad and kind of overlooking, does it want you? And that's one of the big questions in life is recognizing. And I think that Claire Danes' character, so what's her name in the film? I forget. It is Yvaine, yeah? So Yvaine says, he's like, I'm going to do this and this and this and this. And Yvaine just says to him, but what is she doing to prove her love for you?
That
and
hurt.
I thought, wow,
that hurt me.
Young Naf needed this in those moments where I was growing up going, I love her.
Yeah, for all of
this
those
person,
of you
person.
who this was for all those who were this was a comfort movie for you, sincerely fuck you, because we needed this and we didn't have that. So that's the comfort movie we needed. We have the selfless hero that never has a break for himself movies.
Yeah.
Those are our comfort movies, and that's what we engraved on our souls.
Absolutely. And Kay, you got someone in TikTok asking what country your flag is from.
What country my flag is from? Well, it's from the best country that there is. And that's,
Bitopia.
let me tell you, that is Bitopia. Exactly.
Bitopia. It's my favorite country as well.
Where you love everybody and we all part of that one loving family. And let me tell you, man, it's a great country. You should visit sometime. And now,
Kit
as
says
we
they are
continue going
Yvaine
on-
at their core as well. I think that's
Oh
beautiful.
yeah.
And if you guys aren't
Now-
following Kit Ameria Place on TikTok or Instagram and stuff, definitely check that out. They posted a picture of them doing a Yvaine cosplay, which was gorgeous. Blew my mind. So yeah,
I mean, that's just Kit
that's
in
just Kit.
general.
Yeah.
Like,
I need
yeah,
to
like
check that out.
Kit is stunning, and in addition, hilarious.
Yes.
So like,
Kit is everything.
Watching,
Okay? Kit is everything.
we have 2 episodes with Kit. You need to listen to them, and if you want to listen to me, try to keep Naf and Kit on the rails. When I had a long work day, watch our illusionist episode.
It's beautiful.
That
It's a great episode.
I love that. But going further with this, with the world building and all these things there, I think that is what's great about Neil Gaiman's stories in general. Is a lot of times it's an outlandish world, but he has something that you can relate to, something that you can kind of. It's the Luke Skywalker effect of, like, the hero's journey. You need something that the audience can grab onto, especially when you're introducing a lot of concepts to them. You need this guy. He's in love with someone that clearly doesn't love him back. This is his journey of self-discovery. We all can relate to that in whatever way that means. Whether we've been the person that's like, oh, I'm not really into this person, but they're kind of fawning over me. Or you have the other experience of being that person that's fawning over the other. The more common, certainly the one I relate to more. But feeling that I think that they do is then introducing the concepts of like in typical Neil Gaiman fashion with like through inane objects you take for granted, all of a sudden being like, yeah, this random wall in England is like a portal to another place. That of course there's this one gatekeeper that like was determined to believe this. And I love his writing when he does all of his like just little background detail stuff that's not really important, but because he said it, it makes you believe it. And as a world builder, I think it's incredibly important when you do crazy shit to make sure that you're consistent with your audience. But the thing is that it's like it's a very interesting thing, and I don't know what it is. It sucks you in, and everything makes sense. And then and because it has such a jaunty feel, when it actually gets kind of dark and kind of sinister, that lands even harder. Because I don't know if you guys felt the same way, but like when you would see stuff like like when you see stuff like Michelle Pfeiffer's character or Mark Strong's character, which also Mark Strong being in in this movie, like totally took me by surprise, and I was like, I love that man.
And he's not technically like, I know he's become very infamous for playing like villain characters. He's not really like totally a villain. Like you can kind of see where he's coming from. And I was talking like to Naf like a couple of days ago. Like I saw a lot of like kind of like Succession like vibes,
Yeah,
like with the
very
whole
much
like
so.
with the whole like three princes like trying to like take over like taking over like the kingdom and like like I haven't seen Succession, but I know kind of like the
Sure,
kind of overall kind of like what
you're
that
not
show is
missing
about.
much.
So
But
On that, I was thinking very much in a similar way that he's. And one of the things that I really appreciated about the film is on a couple of things. I think the world building in particular, having your fish out of water, it's a great idea. And him having the hero's journey is fantastic as well. It just keeps things really simple. Because the structure of the story is so simple, it allows for some more complex concepts to be delivered to you just like as fact. You know, like there are moments in the film of just, I need a Babylon candle. Why? It's the fastest way to travel. Okay, and then this person has a Babylon candle later and he lights it and he moves. And it's like, right, okay. And the star landed because stars turn into people and we eat people. And it just is slowly delivering those little bits of information to you without doing too much heavy dialogue exposition. It all kind of is just happening in camera, which is great.
and it's the stuff that you just kind of like he just allows, as you say, allows to happen. Like
Yeah.
this just occurs, and it's like
I mean, I don't see you questioning it. We go on to the
this
next
is
moment.
the story. Yeah, and we're moving on.
Yeah.
And speaking of moving on,
before we
ahead.
move
well,
on,
not speaking of moving on, we're moving on to Marley, who's got a thought.
Yes, sorry, it's just
No, you're all good.
I just wanted to like touch a little bit more on the just the wonderful relationship between like the Tristan and like the first girl that he's lusting over, because like yeah, she is making fun of him, but there is like that moment like when they're having like a picnic and they're like sharing like wine, I believe, like they're just kind of like
Champagne.
drinking and just, like enjoying like the
Underage
night
drinking,
sky.
yeah.
Yeah, underage drinking, like for sure. But
For sure.
but the thing that I really appreciate about that is that like yeah, she's making fun of him, but she still enjoys like his company. And like it's not like it's very much a friend zone situation. He and Tristan really can't like see that. And like when he is like when he finds out that she is like engaged to someone else and like hey, I'm going to like get together with this other person, and he was like well and she's like oh he's going all the way to the next town to like
Yeah.
get like a ring for me, and he's like well I can like go around the world and stuff like that, I can get that shooting star for you. And that's where the kind of like the whole like story kind of like opens up, where it's just like he goes on like this journey to get the star for the girl that he's lusting over. And then I just love that those two, like it wasn't insufferable that they were together, It's just like it was not like what he wanted it to be. It was just very
Yeah.
much, like I said, friend zone situation.
Yeah, I think that
Yeah.
he doesn't really realize he's got more this like heightened concept of love and what it should be, and if I do this, then she should love me, as opposed to just like we said later in the film, some of those conversations that he has with Yvaine that really kind of like zero in on the idea, and kind of he learns what love is during this film, which I think is really beautiful.
Yeah, and
It's through kind of
Go-
chasing something that he wants so bad too, and through recognizing that he doesn't want it that bad, or for the reason that he wanted it, he then is able to have that growth. I think that helps quite a bit. He's chasing something for one reason, and it's kind of a not quite enemies to lovers, but it's like a little bit of enemies to lovers, because he's just got her trapped,
Yeah.
and then throughout that time together, the film has enough runtime to let that relationship grow just enough. I think it will make a fantastic, 6-hour TV series as well. However,
Oh,
in
for
the time
sure.
they had, I was like, I don't know how you're going to just swap. It's going to feel too quick. And I felt that it happened in a decent amount of time.
yeah, well, and going with that, like I think that it truly has that classic. I don't know. It really feels like those classic movies where I love movies where I look at characters and I'm like, damn, I really do want you to get together, but I didn't know that at first. Like it's truly those things of not like, because I mean, Marley, you do, like we all do this kind of film stuff. We're also writers and do stuff like that. When you watch stuff like this, you innately are like, oh, okay, trying to see where it's going to go. This was one of those where I didn't really consider that the sort of the star and him could sort of fall in love. Like that just like it should have been obvious to me, but it wasn't. And I like that.
I think
I
it
like that it
definitely.
was
Sorry, you go.
like it was something that you wanted it to happen. Like once they really started to get to each other, it's like, oh, I like this dynamic. I like their sarcasm. I like this thing there. And that was where I really felt that the feeling of it came from. And that kind of, I think, also blends into this sort of uh feeling of this tone, and the tone that we continue to go with about both young love, how it balances this kind of young love, as you said, enemies to lovers ish, kind of much ado about nothing ish kind of tale, with a with you have, as you said, like a succession plot and this witch in the background that's trying to get closer and closer to them. And it's like these three things are all in the same movie
I do love
with
that.
Robert De Niro in doing his whole thing.
Yeah, you add in him as well as a layer. It's wild, and I do really resonate with stories that do have multiple pieces of the puzzle heading towards the same goal for different reasons generally. And you find that even with Mark Strong's character, what's his name, Septimus,
Septimus,
Septimus.
because he's the
he
seventh.
doesn't really want. He's not chasing her for immortality until he kind of learns about that later. For most of the time, he's just doing it because we just have to. And wanted to talk about something that you mentioned earlier too, Kay, around wanting these characters to be together. And I think that how they've delivered key moments or key like knowledge bites that you need. I actually felt terrified that she was going to walk through the portal and turn to rock. As that was happening, I was like, I don't think so. That being said, this film has taken so many twists and turns in ways that I just did not expect at all. We start here and then we're there. I had a feeling that maybe it was going to be like a Treasure Planet kind of vibe, and it was going to be moving just between, like space pirates kind of vibe, and it not quite. So I thought, I don't know where this is going. I don't know how dark we can go at the end here. And I thought that they did such a good job of that, because of them moving from place to place, you kind of build tension, even though you go, I know the tropes here. I don't trust that he's going to stick to them, and I'm scared.
Yeah.
And as Kit put in chat, it's a quickened slow burn, and I think that is a really great way to explain it.
And it's my favorite kind. And like, because my ADHD makes me impatient. But Marley, going off of that, like with kind of things there, is there anything you want to kind of talk about in that particular regard with like kind of the setting of that stage in that tone?
No, like to just kind of echo exactly what you said. I love like the tone in this entire setting, and even like when like Tristan like gets to like the star that basically craters. Can we get a story about like what happened like around like that whole area, because that's a
Yeah.
big giant crater. Like like
Uh-huh.
did it take out someone? Like that's something that I wanted to know. I wanted them to explore a little bit more. I loved like when he first like walks up to what's the character's name? Yvaine.
Yvaine,
Um
I think, yeah.
yeah. Uh I
Kit
like
is
It's a
gonna
like
great
murder
name.
does
us.
anyone anyone that would like would walk up to like her and be like, "Oh, it's like it's a beautiful woman." And he's just like, "Oh, this is just a goal." And like let me just like hand you, and just like it's like he is totally disinterested in all of that. Like if I saw that, I'm like, wow, a shooting star, like, but like I would be like I would be totally surprised, and Tristan's just like, well, I came
I found it.
I came for,
You're
yeah,
the
I found it,
star.
so yeah.
And
It's
then he just ties
it's
it up. He's like, I'm going
such
to give you as a gift to a girl that I like.
I and that's and
Wild.
that
And
Her
I
kind
response
of
love
is perfect.
you kind of
yeah, I love the, it's like that's a great gift, just kidnapping, like
yeah.
I think that's I don't think that's a word for word, but I just
But
love
but it's
uh,
but it's so funny. It's very almost Wes Anderson like, where it's this very surreal thing that's occurring, but because Charlie Cox is Charlie Cox, we're like, "Oh, you scoundrel." And we're like, "You're kidnapping her. That's what you're doing. But you're really cute, so I'm going to let it happen and I hope you learn a lesson." Like, and it's one of those things where like it's truly when the casting of this character is very important, because if this felt weird in any way, this wouldn't work. You wouldn't be able to calmly sit there and watch this, because I always feel like with shit like this, it's always a tough thing where you're like, is this film, are the things that we were talking about this in our Hell or High Water episode, is what this film is portraying, are they aware of how it's coming off, or are they unaware of it? And especially when you go back further in time, there is stuff that people aren't as aware of, and it does come off as like, that didn't age well. But
I
I
think
feel
that's.
with, go ahead, Neff,
I was
if
just
you
going
have
to say that I
things to
think
go off
that
with it.
it's a good point to jump into sort of our next category a little bit on like the tone of the film, because one of the things that I really resonated with in this particular film was everyone's like commitment to the bit.
Yes.
The way that it came off to me was that every single person here knew that they were making a campy fantasy film that was meant to feel like something that came out, in like the 80s. And oh my god, that lawnmower is so bad. That being said, it comes off that way, and I like how committed to the bit everyone actually is. I might pass back to one of you guys to talk for a bit.
No worries, I can pick up the torch. So, as Naff gets his ass mowed down by a lawnmower over here, and he can't interfere with this, and he can't say anything, I'm gonna just drop the name of one film, The Last Jedi, just so he can't. And just so the thing is that as he is currently still on mute, I will own this and where. But as we will continue going on talking about the film, yes, with the tone, everybody is committed to the bit. That was kind of what I was talking about. Nav and I mentioned even before, this walked so Good Omens could run, and this kind of shows you that very much that style that Neil Gaiman really seems to love with his work, which is commitment to the bit. People care, people enjoy that tone that he brings to the world. And I mean, Marley, you've done films, you kind of understand the idea of world building, and
Mhm.
and especially when you're establishing a tone, and especially a tone that is supposed to be a little bit goofy, but you want the audience to take it seriously. That's a really tough line to walk. That's a really like tightrope thin line to walk of being, this is too camp and we can't have any stakes, or it's not camp enough and now it's just weird.
Specifically, like when you
yeah, go ahead.
go
I
ahead,
want to know your
sorry.
thoughts. I want to know your thoughts on it.
Well, specifically when you're talking about like the three witches, like how the whole reason why
Yes.
they're going after like the shooting star is because they have to like eat like the body parts of like this of this shooting star to kind of to gain like their youth back, and like they're constantly like kind of like struggling with like the kind of like the something that we all go through, like aging, like every single day, and like how Michelle Pfeiffer's character kind of like dreams of kind of like being like li- uh like well, she was attractive like anyways like when she was older and younger,
Absolutely.
but
But in her
uh
eyes,
yeah. But what was that?
but in her eyes, she doesn't feel that way, and she wants to starve off that aging.
Yeah, and I feel like having like something like that brought could be very dark and like very unsettling for like any audience, but it's played with like a very kind of like playful kind of like
It's tongue in
attitude, and
cheek.
you feel for like these three witches, like even though they're the antagonist for like this movie, you understand like where they're coming from, because kind of like with like Semptress. Is that did I say that name right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, but I just like that kind of like going back the whole Tristan thing. It's like you understand like these characters are grounded enough where you can kind of like understand where they're coming from.
I get that, and Kit mentioned in chat that you're supposed to realize how insane it is that Tristan's kidnapping Yvaine. Like, you're supposed to seriously go, bro, are you serious? Like, it feels warranted, and then also, like, it adds to his character a little bit that he can't really do it. Like, he can't even do this. He's just a shop boy. He ties her up, and he's like, all right, I guess we're just gonna, like, sit here, because, like, what else can we do? I think it goes to show a lot for his character in particular, which I found really interesting. And on that feeling of people, kind of being committed to the bit, you do have, like, Michelle Pfeiffer's having a fantastic time in this film. You can just tell. To the point of even when she eats the heart for the first time, just turns around and looks at herself, and she just looks at herself, she's like, I was like, yeah, I get it. I get it. And she's having a fantastic time with it, and that's great to see. And other actors, which we'll dive into a little bit more into those two in particular as well, because I'm sure we both have lots of thoughts on Pfeiffer and De Niro.
I'm ready to jump right into De Niro.
Well, one of the things that I wanted to talk about with
before we jump into De Niro, could we talk about Billy?
So this is something that I did want to talk about. You have your main character of Tristan, who is swept up on this journey that he had no idea what was going to happen, and he's off on this team, and nobody is talking about Billy being swept up on his journey, or first being turned into a goat, and then being turned back into a goat, and then getting boobs, which they put a lot of effort. The visual effects, that's why it took a year to get that boob expansion just right. And I found that,
you gotta get the jiggle physics.
Yeah, I found that fantastic. I loved that he was just being dragged along, and it's this kid who just wants to go home. And to the point where once I was like, okay, at least he died, and it's fine, he's not around anymore. And then Septimus finds him, and he's like, all right, we're taking this kid with us. I thought that was just, that got me. This is fantastic.
Yeah.
He was just doing chores. He was just doing chores, and he just got swept up in all of this, and it's just like, he's the most. I know we're talking about like all these other characters that are relatable. He is the most relatable for like the audience, where it's just like we just get swept up in this story. And
He's
just kind
us.
of like, I guess we'll just go with it.
He's just like, sure, I guess I really don't have a choice here, do I? And then they're like, nope, no, you do not.
Now you have boobs.
Now you have boobs.
Now you have boobs.
Now you're a goat.
And also turning a goat into a human, that was wild. There are so many moments in this film that I go, yeah.
Because Billy Goat.
Absolutely. And I found that there were so many moments within the film that I'm just kind of looking at these moments and going, is this really happening right now? This is what's happening. They're on a cloud. Okay. And yeah. And I think that's the main...
Like, going off of
go ahead.
I guess going off of your point just real quick, Neff, like, that's also like the thing that I think is great about the film, because at the same time as you're like, is this really what's happening? But because the film makes so many of these right and left turns, you get to this point of going, I'm sorry, what's happening in your face? Ah, so um, basically, what I feel happens is you see with this film that all of these things that occur, you also are left wondering, well, what could happen? Like there was that moment where the Sal Dishwater or whatever her name is, like the whole thing of going uh where Michelle Pfeiffer looks at her and approaches her and is like, if you're going to question me, if you're going to try to go after the star yourself, like, he sort of heed this warning. And I'm like, what is she going to do to her? I really don't know what's gonna. Like it was even the point when Mark Strong drank he does the little fake out of him drinking the poison. At
It's
first, I
great.
thought, was Mark Strong enough of a villain actor at the time that like you're gonna cast him and it really is gonna be his sniveling brother that is the person that accidentally becomes this thing. I was like, there's no way you're gonna do that. There's no way. But also, I was like, there might be. There's a possible chance that they did that just to throw us off.
I really like the line there where he goes, "You killed the priest." He's like, "Well, you killed the priest. Technically, you were supposed to drink that, not him." So, I thought that was really funny. And Mark Strong gives a really great performance in here too. And one of the things that I'll talk about when we get to like the visual effects too is some of the the fight sequences, in particular that last one that I think was one of the most unique I've seen ever. I thought that was fantastic. That being said,
about the voodoo doll.
yeah. So I want to dive into that when we get to it. But on the actual like tone of the film, it does have that kind of Pirates of the Caribbean-esque. This is really silly, but we're all like, this is an adventure. We're going on an adventure. It's an odyssey, and you can clearly see the chapters essentially of like, this is the one at the start of the story, and this is where we start learning some things, and this is the one where we meet the thunder catching sky pirates. Cool.
This was when you rolled a nat 1 and the DM didn't have a session plan, so sky pirates.
That's it.
Yes, and like,
and do you guys have more thoughts on particularly like the tone of the film before we dive into some of the performances?
I mean, personally, I think that the best way to advance the talk about the tone is to go into more specific examples with De Niro and Pfeiffer.
Yeah.
So I'm good to transition if you guys are.
Awesome. Well, let's kick off
ready.
with let's kick off with Michelle Pfeiffer. Actually, I want to hear some of your thoughts on these. I know that I am commonly known on the internet as Dangerous Woman, I'm in Love. So there probably isn't much that I can say here that is new to people. I would love to hear that from you guys.
Marley, care to start, given that rousing
Tell me about Mommy
introduction to
Pfeiffer.
the segment. Talk about Mother.
Well, yeah. What can I say? Michelle Pfeiffer. I think you said it when we talked about like the tone. Like she understands like what character that she's playing, and she is like having like the time of her life. I can't think of like another like performance where she. Naf, are you okay? I can't
This
think
is
of
why
like,
you should turn into our lives, because if you can see Naf deal with lawnmowers and everything all at once, and you can see his
dealing with
live
Freddy
reaction to
dealing
his
with Freddy Krueger in the background.
exactly, just dealing with the whole thing there. It's a whole thing. But yeah, so going with it Marley, like I agree with you. Like Michelle Pfeiffer, she understands the assignment. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like she understood what we needed in a villain was you need someone unapologetically bad that does ultimately have a good like her own reason for doing what she's doing, but it's very D&D villain logic esque, which is
Mhm.
we didn't need an antagonist. We need to give that antagonist enough issues that it's like very clear that they're not going to stop until they get their goal. But we need to kind of contrast what the main characters want, so here we are. But what I loved was like how they even wrote into the script how to limit her power, because they're like, you can't be using all this magic. Even talking to us here is gonna use up some of your magic. And they're like, and you can see her kind of rolling her eyes at the fact of that moment's there. But it's like she works so well as a villain because she has enough of that competency to be dangerous while still remaining fun Like we can still have fun with this character because Michelle Pfeiffer is living it up. It's like Michael McKean in Good Omens. Like these actors are really just living that and thriving, and that makes it so much fun. I don't know what you feel, Marley, but that was sort of at least what I took away from it.
I think it's one of her best performances, like that I've ever seen, and like
Truly.
like it's so unique, and like going off of like what you said about like every single time that she uses her powers, like her like she kind of like ages back like a portion of like her body. Like especially on a rewatch, like that kind of reminded me a little bit of like the Barbie movie, like with the whole cellulite like type
Yeah.
thing, where it's like like they're kind of like just like gaining like a portion like that's portion of like their body back. It's kind of like
Yeah, it's like a
I don't know.
ticking time bomb.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that was one of the things that I really appreciated about her performance too, is it does take these aspects of like humanity and just blow them out of human proportions. You know, we've got characters that are 400 years old that are still concerned about how they look. I thought that was really cool. And it also tied into her performance towards the end of the film where, honestly, when she does look around and looks at her sisters and she's like, my sisters are dead, just go. I was full sold until they just lingered on that half smile for a bit where I was like, she's not a bad actress, so this is an intentional half smile. And then they kind of give that back. And I was like, it is too easy, but also had they gone with that, I would have been okay with it. I thought this is all of a sudden a villain that I kind of feel for a bit.
It is that moment, like I don't know why I use this, but it's kind of that Dr. Doofenshmirtz vibe of like, oh, all of a sudden you made this character very real and now I kind of feel bad.
Yeah.
Like where you're like, because it's even like in D&D when your party's like, oh, we're slashing through all these guards, and then your DM throws in, yeah, that man had a family. And you're like, oh, huh.
Yeah, so you meet a kid in the middle of the causeway afterwards and he says, my dad was off fighting some villains before. He was dressed exactly like this costume that you're wearing right now. And you're like, oh yeah, I stole this off a dead man.
Exactly. Like it has that vibe to it of, I wanted to do this so I could live with my sisters forever. Now I can't. Like now like die. I thought the same thing that you did. I was like, oh shit. Huh. Ooh. It's definitely one of those moments of like, oh fuck, we've gone too far.
Oh,
like oh shit, go back.
well, one of the things that I didn't actually mention before that I might want to just jump back to for a second on the tone is I want to know your thoughts on the ghosts that follow the king's kids around. Is I feel like had a film like this been made today, those scenes are cut. They are on the cutting room floor, and I look at them as they're not really doing anything for us. And at the same time, I am so glad they're here.
It depends on which studio that makes it, because if A24 made this film, that is the film. like that is like, because I thought there was a scene when they go up and they're like I think they're like having sex or whatever or things there, and like we cut down to the ghost.
You guys gotta check
just
this
sitting
out.
there. Yeah, you guys gotta check this out, and then they're like, oh god.
It's like
and
that is your nephew. That is your nephew.
that is your like
ding dong inside the stuff.
And it's them just talking to each other about all that, which also, by the way, I love that the ghosts all have the wounds from how they died.
Yep.
Is so funny. It's brutal.
The guy with the
The
flat
guy that
face.
gets pushed off. Yeah, well, it's not like I guess it is a flat face, but like even like the way his hair was moving as he was falling to his death, it's like whipped to the back of his head. It's like, I think what kind of like adding like onto like the tone as well is what makes like this film like so like intriguing is that you want to know more about each of these characters, and just like what you were saying, Naf, is like this could be like a 6 like episode like series for each person.
Yeah.
Hell, like even like the ghosts. Like I would love to listen to a podcast with all 4 of those guys.
I love the fact that they are all named after how they were born.
Yeah.
I like that it was
and they
1,
clothes
2,
have the
3,
Roman
4,
numerals on them
5.
too.
Yeah, that they're all just in number order.
Yeah.
Of Septimus Secundus. That was my favorite, was Secundus, and I was like, what do you mean like second?
Yeah.
Like I was like, that's
like,
just
that's a
such
weird
an
name for him,
elaborate
but-
way. Because it was just, but it was perfect because it was just such an innate
Yeah.
way to already get into the gimmick.
Absolutely.
That's like if your question, because it just shows you how much Neil Gaiman puts thought into the names of his characters.
Yeah.
Again, like any good DM, you either improv them, or if your players are going to keep asking about these names, you're going to make them dumber and dumber.
Yeah, absolutely
And like,
right.
and so you're going to have Billy. Yeah, he's the guy who turns into a goat.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have like, you're going to have Una Secundus, like, you know,
Yeah,
all these goddamn ones there.
it's fantastic.
But I love that scene, and I almost wanted to go on for a while. I almost wanted this Waiting for Godot-ish scene where you just have all of them on the bench and just have like a almost, you know, Taika-ish scene of like them just sitting on this bench talking about nothing for like while they're having sex, like basically be like an intermission act
That would've been
while
great.
they're
You
up
just
there
make them
doing
like
it.
It's like you're almost
make them
building
like
up to
an
that moment.
unreliable.
So you go ahead.
Make them
unreliable
like an
narrative.
unreliable narrator.
Yeah, I could
like,
see that.
and just kind of like a Forrest Gump like type.
Yeah.
Yeah.
where they're just kind of like sitting off like in the background and just like
Oh,
just
yeah.
talking about what's going on. So
Yeah. And yeah, I think that it was one of those things that as they introduce this idea, you know, he falls and then you see him in the back and you've got these other characters dying, like one dies naked, and I was like, that's going to be really
Yeah.
funny. And then he pops up and the character's like, whoop, and I'm like, hilarious. This is fantastic. So I love that a lot too. And like we was talking about before on Michelle Pfeiffer's performance, she's very much in like on the bit too. And I love that. She's having the best time. She's looking fantastic, even as an old lady. Like old lady, right? Because she's technically an old lady
Yeah.
now. But I don't know, man. I have questions, you know? That being said, do you guys have any other thoughts on Michelle Pfeiffer and her performance in particular that you want to share? I mean, her costume was incredible, and the makeup, the prosthetics that they
Oh,
used,
yeah.
fantastic too.
like the makeup's all great, but like the visual effects used on her character, like with like when she starts losing like her features, certain featers,
Yeah.
like the visual effects, but also the sound effects used that I
Yeah.
noticed, like especially on a rewatch, like when her boobs like start sagging, there's like kind of like a sad
deflate
like
sound, yeah.
sagging sound, and it
Yeah.
was just so really
Everybody was
disturbing,
on their
but-
A game. Every
Yeah.
department was on their A game in this film. I love that. I love when each department is like really committed.
Mhm.
And like my feeling on this, that there was nobody though that surprised me in where their character really was going than Robert
Oh.
fucking De Niro.
I'm going to put it out here right now. This is my favorite work of his ever.
I don't understand how this is not up there in the conversation with Raging Bull and Godfather 2.
Yeah.
I don't
He-
know how this is not.
And of all the ways I
discuss
expected
more.
his character to go, it was not like that. And Marley, you made a really great comparison on your video earlier today that I'd love to hear you talk more about. And it was comparing him to Blackbeard from Our Flag Means Death.
Yes.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah,
If
talk more
people
to
haven't
that.
seen if people haven't seen Our Flag Means Death, do it. Like watch it on Max. The
Hard
one
recommend.
But I like, especially on a rewatch, I definitely like noticed like a lot of the like similarities to that. So I would love to like sit down with Taika and see like if he's seen this film. For one, I think this film is like right up Taika's alley. To be
Oh, yeah.
honest. I
If
feel
I
like
heard
he would,
Taika made this movie, I wouldn't have been surprised.
Right. So, and I just love like the concept. I just love the concept of a character where they are hiding who they truly are from like the people that are around them, and like when they go behind like closed doors, like this is who they really are, and like and kind of like what the struggles that they go with that, like keeping up like this image of like this tough guy pirate, but like when, like I said, like when you go behind like the doors, like he's into fashion and like I love the line. I'm trying to think of like the line off the top of my head, but like something when he's talking about like silk like clothes, he says that's hard to get blood out of. Like,
Yeah.
Oh
and-
yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that line so much, actually.
Yeah,
And a
it's-
lot of
it's-
his,
Because if you've ever
great line.
tried, it's true.
yeah,
And it's
Yes.
and
you know,
even there was other parts of him, the way he talked about like England. It's like, how is my beloved England? And I love the moment where, I think you actually posted this on your TikTok as well, Marley, where he goes, I chose the name Shakespeare because it's like back to the art and the things that I love, and my crew here, Shakespeare. And he's like, and that
was
just makes
such a
me so
dumb
happy.
Joke. That was just such a dumb joke, and I loved every minute of it.
Yeah.
And also it's like getting Robert De Niro again, going with the casting of this. Robert De Niro, who is, I mean, you ask anybody, Robert De Niro as an actor is one of the coolest, probably one of the most masculine actors you could possibly think of. And to have him play this part was such a statement. And like, honestly, I have more respect for De Niro playing this part than I ever have before. Like, because the fact that, you know, he really went for it and he embraced it
Yep.
in this beautiful way. And I love how the film portrays it too, in a way that kind of is very, it's such a funny way of handling it. Because it's like, yeah, I got to keep up appearances, because it's like, and it's less, and it kind of is a commentary on people who haven't come out yet, people and things there, like in a masculine environment, who are afraid to, and are afraid of what that repercussions are going to be on their life if they do. So it has a very deep commentary.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it also has this incredible, like, life to it at this point in the movie, where you've had a fair amount of dark kind of shit happen. This is something that's kind of whimsical. It really adds, I think it's when the tone really solidifies itself, is we're on a flying pirate ship in the sky, we're capturing lightning in bottles. Like, what, literally, this is what we're doing. And it's kind of that point of like, all right, I'm fucking in, let's do this. I'm strapping in here.
I really like the scene where he's trying to sell the lightning bolts off, and they're bartering on it. It's like 150. He's like 200, 160, 200. That's not how you negotiate. Like, my number's going up. He's like, yep. Did I hit 200? He's like, yeah, because you said it. And I love the 195. Agreed. With sales tax, 200.
I love that. That was my favorite. With sales tax, 200.
Yeah.
And
he
Ricky Gervais as well. Ricky Gervais playing that part there.
Yeah, he was
was
fantastically
just-
cast.
Not a
Oh my
big fan
God.
of Ricky Gervais now, but like at the time when I first saw this, like I loved like his character there, but like on a rewatch, what I know from like Ricky Gervais as like a person, I was like, oh, do you really need to be in this? So
I
But-
think Ricky Gervais is a complicated guy in that regard, where I'm like, I think Ricky Gervais, like, I like him personally. Like, obviously, I think I appreciate his artistry and what he stands for, like not what he stands for, like, necessarily politically, but I also don't think that he, like, you know, he's an interesting creative, and that's why I always appreciate. And his performance here is just so funny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's
he
just
is.
so.
He is
It's
It's
really
just
so
great
so
in this.
lived
too.
in. It's
And-
so lived in, and it's just him.
Another fun fact
Yeah.
is that most of the lines that he delivers in the film are all like ad-libbed too, which is understandable.
That tracks.
Though on De Niro's character, I really liked a couple of things. One was him helping Tristan pick out new clothes and make a story for them. And
Yeah.
while I didn't feel that he actually would have thrown him out the window, I thought, okay, there's something in here, because when Tristan was thrown out the porthole on the side, I thought, okay, that's not Tristan, it's something else, but like, why? And then when he goes into the room and he's saying, you know, don't bother me for like 4 hours or whatever, or don't bother me or I'll do the same to you. And the castmate is like, what, you mean you?
yeah.
He's like, no, throw you off the side. And it's funny because as he said that,
It was a
I
great
thought,
joke.
that would be so funny if they made this joke, but they wouldn't do that, you know? Because that's like, if I was watching the movie with you next to me, Kay, I literally would have been like, he means he's going to fuck him. And we would have laughed about it, and then he would have been like, yeah, I'll throw you off the side. But it happens in the movie.
Yeah, like that's what this movie does constantly. And I love movies that do this, where they acknowledge almost the audience's immediate thought.
Yeah.
As it's like when Barbie goes, note to the filmmakers, maybe Margot Robbie was not the person to cast if you wanted to make this point.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those things where it's like when the
filmmakers are aware.
Yeah.
when the filmmakers do it, then you're like, okay, now we're all in on this joke, and we
Yeah.
don't see it as an oversight.
Yeah.
It's like, you can argue that's somewhat lazy writing, but I'm like, when it's done really well and really cheeky, I'm like, that was a good joke. I did like that one where it's like, you're gonna do the same thing to us. No, I'm gonna throw you off the side. He's like, oh, got it. That, of course, that was what I was thinking.
I felt that I really resonated with how endearing it was as they started passing time on the boat too. Of him learning to sword fight and them learning to dance, and kind of I fell into that a little bit and was like, this is beautiful.
That was where,
and I was worried that I wouldn't get this, that there wouldn't be enough time. And I remember pausing it around about that point in the film and going, there's an hour left. Like, where else could this go? I thought that was really cool. And yeah, De Niro's performance is, like I said, some of my favorite work of his. And then also, it's like fun and silly without poking fun. It's not being like, haha, it's funny to be gay, or cross-dress. It's just like, it's a character expressing himself in the truest form of himself. And then having a character who, also setting up, he has a fearsome reputation, so be careful. And then walking in and seeing him, and then the way that I really love the scene where he's beaten Captain Shakespeare and he's put him on like the table there, and what's his name, Septimus is about to, basically have a bit of a crack at him and may make fun of him or whatever, and be like, what's wrong with you? And the crew come in and without a second thought they scare him off, and they're just like, Captain, like, we're good. And those moments, here's an Earl Grey tea, and he's like, oh man, my reputation is done. They're like, nah, it's all good. Like, it's totally fine.
I love how they're like, we've known this entire time.
Yeah.
How they're like, yeah, we knew.
Yeah. I thought that was really beautiful. And also, it's funny at the end, there's a little gag there where he looks at Henry Cavill's character and they kind of make eyes at each other, and then Victoria looks at both of them and is like, and I'm like, that's it. That's what happens, bitch. You don't act like this. Robert De Niro is going to steal your man.
Yep.
Like, Robert De Niro's crew is just like very similar to like family.
Yeah.
Family always sticks together. Like, no matter what. Like,
it's got a lot to...
Like,
it
Well
definitely
played.
goes to a conversation around found family, and we know like what series talks about found family more than anything else, and particularly when we talk about ship-related combat, and we talk about really great fight sequences on a ship. We can really compare
with Bad Batch.
We can really compare it to
Bad
the
Batch.
fantastic fight sequence from The Last
Season
Jedi
2
in the ship
specifically.
on the Supremacy, which is fantastic. It's the best fight in Star Wars, and I don't give a fuck what you say.
Bad Batch. Anyway,
I have the power to mute you, right? Don't make
I know.
don't make me start using that power.
You don't want to.
I will.
You know what I have to say is so beautiful.
That being said,
well,
we talk a lot. We could talk significantly
We do
more about
talk
De
a
Niro
lot.
as well. But do you guys have any other points you want to talk about there before we dive into some of like the VFX and things?
well, I would like to dive talk a little bit more about De Niro, just because his character is just so fascinating.
Yeah,
And,
please.
like, when I first saw him, like when I watched because I when I watched this in 2007, I knew who De Niro was. Like you mentioned, like Keegan, like this very masculine, like he played a lot of masculine characters. And when I first saw him like pop up, I was just like, I love this movie immediately, just because. And even on a rewatch, like I love this movie even more just because of what De Niro did with this character and the risks that he took.
Yeah.
Just because I love like when actors break the mold, like, and kind of like break like the whole typecast thing. Granted, I just watched Goodfellas for the first time, and De Niro is fantastic in this, but I believe that this is his best performance.
Agreed.
Just because of what he did there, because you could. This is such a crucial character. Like, you can either get it right or you can either get it wrong, because then you can walk like the very delicate line of like, oh, this is queer coded, and like it's like it in not taken like very seriously. But the way like they mention like this character is queer, but no actually like mention it. It's like it's still up in the air. Like he's just open about like who he is.
Yeah.
I appreciated that so much, and to have Robert De Niro do it I like
It
so
You
kinda
wouldn't
just
expect it.
puts a
You really wouldn't expect it.
it's kind of like David Tennant doing the whole like almost putting on the like don't bully trans people shirt, like that sort of things there of like,
Mhm.
you know, it's like you take these people who are just respected in their craft, and it is like, are you gonna tell Robert De Niro that he fucked up in doing this?
Yeah.
Like, are you gonna tell him that? Like, I like to see you try.
I
You know, sort of a thing there where it's like I love it, honestly, Marley, because I was like, I don't know, like De Niro's just kind of been a hit or miss for me. Just as, not like he's a great actor. It's just a lot of the stuff that he's in. I'm not a huge fan of the movie, but it's like I love him in it. This was that one that I was like, it's as you said, like looking at the broad spectrum of shit that you've done. One of these things is not like the other, and it's like, and that's why I'm like, yeah. I agree with you where I'm like, this is the one that you took the biggest swing and you committed. Because at first I was almost like, I don't know if I would have casted De Niro as this part because until we got to the gimmick. Because at first I was like, De Niro feels like he's too serious.
And then you
that
see
it
why.
feels like, because at first I was like, he's too serious. It felt for a second he wasn't in on the joke. And I was like, oh, is this going to be the one thing that I'm going to like, not like? And then all of a sudden it was like the joke came in. I'm like, I am fully in on this.
Yeah.
I am going all in on this movie.
He was my favorite thing in this film.
Like he was the biggest surprise to me. And I think it's why people talk about it with this film. It's why like initially I was like, oh, Michelle Pfeiffer is going to be the thing. It's like, nah, he's that character that comes in that second act and just nails it. That you're like, you're going to be remembered for the rest of this thing.
Absolutely. And I love that for him and obviously from him. Like I think that was great. And similar to your experience there too, Kay, like I don't have many films or many performances that I look at that I go, Robert De Niro was my favorite thing there. I just go, he's just solid. He's good. You know, he's great at what he does. And this,
he's just there.
Yeah, this did that for me, which I really loved. He's great. It's his best work, and he should have got an Oscar for it.
I agree. I'm like, and I love the fact that, as you said, Marley, it's not making fun of him. It is a part of his character, and it is talking about living. And the point of his character being there is talking about living your true self, and ultimately, that's the advice that Tristan needed to go forward. Yeah. And I also like that it's also not the perfect character. He's still a pirate. He still does his things there, but the fact that he is queer coded is a very interesting thing. But it's also not a queer coded that like we're gonna really try to make sure you know. Oh, it's not queer, but he's very feminine. Like, you know, it's a thing of going, no, he is queer. Like that is what he is, and I think that that's a beautiful thing that they're like, yeah, we know. That doesn't mean that like anything to your reputation. And I think that that's a really, and it's interesting that Kit was saying that was apparently very different than the book.
Yeah.
And
I'm
very interested to do more research into that.
Yeah,
I would love to read the book because I've seen this film multiple times, and I've never actually like touched the book, and I'm very like intrigued, especially after having this great conversation that we're having about this movie.
Yeah,
there's two things I want to touch on there because one is I feel the way that I read that was, you know, the scene where he does kind of get dressed up and kind of let himself like loose a little bit, just let himself be free.
Yeah.
I didn't feel that was something that he just does off the cuff. I didn't feel like he just on a Saturday afternoon goes, you know what, I'm going to go and try on all the dresses and dance around in my room, put on music. That's just my vibe. The way that I interpreted that was him kind of not being true to himself was a vessel for Tristan to give himself that advice, which I really liked. I found that Tristan telling him, why would you want to just be what everyone else wants you to be and not just yourself? And then Yvaine going, okay, you paying attention to that? So Tristan gives himself the advice while giving Captain Shakespeare the advice. And I feel like that was after they let him go, him going, okay, I want to be true to myself and I want to just do what I want to do. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to hang out at home. I'm going to do my makeup. I'm going to wear the dress. I'm going to dance around, just be comfortable in my own skin finally. And then boom, trauma. But luckily everything worked out okay. I thought that was really beautiful though.
Yeah, I agree. I also do love how one of my favorite things was just a tiny thing on that scene was when the guards that are all prim and proper are there, and it's just the pirates, and they just kind of go, like, look to like bow or something, and then they're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, like we'll bow," and then they just immediately go in and just like start
Yeah.
like like trying to be like, we're pirates, you know. In the words
yeah.
of Hondo and Naka, we don't know what that means.
It was one of
Like-
those things that reminded me of the Pirates of the Caribbean, where it's like, oh, you know, you got to follow the pirate code. It's like it's more guidelines, you know.
Exactly, we're pirates. It's
Yeah.
guidelines. It's not
Yeah.
really a code.
Well,
But like going on with that, Nav, I know that obviously you want to talk about the visual effects and a
Yeah.
lot of those aspects, and
Yeah.
I want to know that like that obviously contributing to the full tone of this movie is you had to have something that did this, and especially this at this time. What I'm really interested in what you have to say in that
sure.
regard. Like,
Well, I think that one of the things that kind of helps keep the film modern but also makes it feel dated is how they blend visual and practical effects together. Because you're in a state where full CG shots just they don't look that good because we just weren't there yet. And the budget that you have here isn't like a George Lucas in in Revenge of the Sith budget, or it's not a what's it called, like a Lord of the Rings style thing where you've got Weta working on things that makes sense here. You do really have to make the most out of it. And in a film like this where lots of visual effects are required, some of the shots weren't going to look as good as others. That being said, when you present the story in the way it's presented, it's like watching Spartacus, the TV show. I know you haven't seen it, Kay, but have you seen it, Marley?
I've seen the first couple episodes, but
Yeah.
I fell off pretty quick. So
I love that show. I think it's fantastic and has some of the best like storytelling. Like it's like a what's the word? It's like a sleeper. You know, you wouldn't expect it to be as good as it is. But one of the things that threw me off that show for a long time was the visual effects being really crappy. But they just lean into it and they go, "This is what it is." You know, you're gonna cut someone and then you're gonna freeze frame and then blood's gonna spurt out from them, and that's our style. And I think that because of the tone of the film, the visual effects work a lot more than they generally would. You can generally see where the practical set ends and the digital set begins. However, I really loved how they used layers in those wide shots. I did see that the pirate ship was a practical set, and they built that around a 360 green screen so they could shoot wherever they wanted on the ship, which I thought was really cool. However, some of my favorite moments weren't necessarily those parts or the extension of a scene, but it was how one scene would bleed into the next by pulling away, taking you to a full in-camera shot, pulling away to an extended scene, going to a full CG shot, moving somewhere else, coming into a half CG, half filmed shot, zooming all the way in, and then landing there. And those transitions of scenes of going through glass or going through this building or moving up and then coming down, which I loved. It just added to how huge this universe kind of felt, even though you're not really in that many different places. Do you guys know what I mean?
oh yeah, well, like one of my favorite shots that really stuck with me was the whole thing of seeing like De Niro playing the piano with Yvaine, and then camera panning out and seeing the ship flying through the clouds in a storm, and then lightning hitting one of the nets that's trailing on it. Camera zooms in there and then follows the lightning up the pipe to the point where Charlie Cox goes and like has like this like device that is like capturing this lightning, and it's
brilliant.
Like it as you said, Naf, like does that, then adding on to funny thing about, like, you're talking about practicals, there's at one point where Michelle Pfeiffer is standing on like a mountain range, like looking over the countryside, and like the wind is blowing and there's things there. Forget exactly where, like what it was, but almost I look at it and I realize I've been there. Like literally that's where I went in Scotland.
Yeah.
Like that is the same vista I have pictures of, and I'm like, you took out the road in CG, but I know that there's a road over there. But
that's really
truly,
cool.
it was
I love that.
It was one of those things that, like, but that's how real, like that, like they were there.
Yeah.
Like they were there in this place, and it's very much this kind of insane little, you know, like all the shit. Like what I love about this film is it contributes to the grandness of it. It even is that shot that kind of felt like The Force Awakens when the X-Wings go along the water, but it's the ship going along the water, and you see the mountains in the background when they're moving. Yeah. And it's just, it feels so epic.
Yeah, and there was a couple of things I wanted to touch on there. I want to come to your point as well, Marley, but in that particular shot you're talking about, Kay, I loved how they blended it in a couple of ways. One is you've got the shots of the ship, and then you've got the CG shots of it landing in the water, and then you have the real shot of the water coming up and covering Tristan and Yvaine. And blending all of those pieces together, it does really work.
Yeah, I agree.
And Marley, you had a point you wanted to talk to there as well. Sorry for cutting you off.
No, it's okay. This is all very fascinating. Like about the visual effects. What I love about the visual effects as well is that they're visually pleasing, and they're also very simple. And the most simple visual effect out of the entire film, and it helps like the story along too, is the glow that Yvaine has when she is happy and she is like in love. And I love like how like muted it gets, and just something as simple as like a glow adding to like a character moment. And this adds to like Claire Danes as an actor too, like because if you've seen like have you seen Claire Danes in like anything else, or is this
I don't think
first
so.
thing that
Probably.
like if you I can't name off the top of my head, but just the way she acts like with her face, and seeing like her reactions like when she's happy, it adds to kind of like the whole the whole glow of the scene. Like when she, like the scene that I'm thinking of specifically is like when they when Tristan basically like pushes her down like in the bush, and they're like on top of each other, and the glow is is just overbearing, and it's like almost blinding Tristan. And as an audience member, I'm just like, come on, like she likes you, and Tristan still can't see it. And
he's still so blind.
I still literally blind because the light is like blinding me. but I just love something, a simple visual effect like that can add to the story. And I will be honest, like I haven't seen this film in quite some time, like on this rewatch that I did for the show. I like the first like opening shot where you see like the visual effect of like those CG animals. I saw it and I was like, uh-oh. And like I was just like, and I was just like, is this movie like bad? And then it definitely just like it was not like.
That's
like,
good. Yeah, like it's good that once you got past that, you remembered. And I think that it is one of those things that how they've used the visual effects, it fits the story. So you could argue, like, honestly, I could sit here and have a conversation with you and tell you that like half the visual effects shots in this movie are shit and they're dated and it looks like Attack of the Clones. But I don't care. I just don't care. They're so well used. I'm so happy with it. Exactly right. And I did just look up Claire Danes as well, and I only know her from one other thing, which is she played Nina in Master of None, which is the character that the main character hooks up with after her husband steals the last ice cream and then throws it in the bin. If you've seen Master of None, you understand that connection. But you were talking also about the scene where she's playing the piano, Kay, and I realized that the notes that he plays are the same notes from the score in that moment, from what appears to be like Claire's, not Claire's, but Yvaine's theme. And then when she plays it, it's silent because she's playing the notes as the score is basically swelling in that moment. And then we pull out and we see everything else. And I thought, that's so cool. And there are moments in the score in particular that feel very reminiscent of Howard Shore's Concerning Hobbits, and a bunch of others that feel like, is it Hans Zimmer who did Pirates?
Klaus Badlet and
based on Hans Zimmer's temp music that they stole from Gladiator.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite media classes ever, when my teacher was like, all right guys, what's this theme song? We're like, Pirates of the Caribbean. And she's like, shut the fuck up, it's Gladiator. I was like, but yeah, the score, while being reminiscent in some instances, I feel that it really worked for this, and there were these moments of like real grandiose stuff. And the last thing I want to talk about on the visual effects, while we do look to wrap up a little bit just for time, is that final fight with Septimus after he dies, and she uses the voodoo doll for it. I don't know how they did that shit. It looked awesome. Sometimes it looked like visual effects, sometimes it looked like a puppet, sometimes it looked like a person. It's also, I think, tying into the theme of how they use visual effects in the film, is that they don't lean on one aspect too much. They're using so many different ways that you're going, I don't know how they did it, so it can't be Uncanny Valley, because it's a bit of everything and I can't put it together. But Kate, I noticed you had your hand up there before. You had a point?
Yeah, twofold. I'll go with the death scene. The only thing I want to touch on the score, because there was a scene, I didn't know how to bring it up earlier, but it was the scene when Septimus stabs the guy that was helping his brother, and it's when they're going to a moment that ties a lot of what we're talking together up, and it's a good example of a lot of stuff we're talking about. World building. The tomes are telling the truth. Like these tome tiles that they chuck in the air tell the truth. And the thing is, it's like, okay, toss them in the air. Are you working for my brother? And waiting for it to land and just going. That was such a clever move that I literally was watching and went, oh fuck.
Throw him nice and high.
Like, yeah, and then it's that stab him, but then the music just swells with this. It reminds me of Knives Out in the sense of like Knives Out score. I talk about as Knives Out really nailed how to. I feel like you would take that film too seriously if that score wasn't so overly dramatic. Like, and this is a similar case where the music is just so camp, but it's beautiful. But then going to the visual effects, that effect with the drowning is one of the coolest ideas like I've ever seen. Because I was wondering how was this going to be portrayed? Because like you have that wonderful moment of she breaks the legs and you see his arms and very body horror-ish stuff. But it was like when she drops in the water, I'm like, is he just going to be like, oh, like I can't breathe? And then they did something 10 times cooler.
Land. He's drowning on dry land,
insane.
Which is a terrifying just thought.
Yeah.
Of just like, if that actually happened to me, I'm just like.
And I found it also, like my thought is that they're shooting it in an actual tank and getting him to play that he's like drowning, and they're then, superimposing it in on the scene, because it looks like he's underwater. Even the texture of his skin changes. He's underwater, and I thought that was really, really cool. And then obviously you've got the fight and how the glass exploding and the vibrating of the glass, and like all these moments with the visual effects towards the end there that are absolutely incredible.
I know you guys are trying to wrap up, but we skipped over like a crucial scene that brought me to tears, especially on a rewatch. Like, what I love about this entire movie is obviously the relationship between Yvaine and Tristan, and like it could be very problematic in a way where it could be Tristan just rescuing Yvaine like the entire time. But what I love is that like they both have to rescue each other, and they both have to like work on each other. Like Yvaine has to like learn about like what love is, just because she was a shooting star and she's kind of like learning as she goes. And Tristan has to like learn about like unconditional love. And the scene where Tristan gets turned into a mouse by the witch that kidnapped like his mother. And Yvaine pours out her entire heart, like talking to this mouse. Like the visual effects of like the mouse just reacting to just like, I'm not sure if that mouse was visual effects or it was an actual mouse.
I mean, we saw the quality of animal visual effects earlier in the film. I think that was a real mouse.
But just like it brought me to tears of everything that she just pouring out to Tristan of how she felt. I just have to get you guys' thought on that scene.
I thought that was really beautiful, and I also loved how when Tristan was leaving the following morning, him giving the message, I was like, I don't know what's going to happen with this message. Like, that part afterwards, I really felt that. I thought, this random character who doesn't give a shit, of course he would say that, and she would feel like this after that feeling. But those scenes in particular, I loved. And I thought that there was a really nice way to come back to the beginning and kind of get your characters wrapped up in this story together by coming back to the point of, you can't see the star. And then, what's her name? The swamp witch also has Tristan's mum too. Like, all of these threads that just are coming together. So I thought I really liked that as well. But I did find that I was really emotional in those beats too. What about you, Kay?
I agree with you. Like, I mean, to put it short, like it was very beautiful to see how, because it's tough with scenes like this. Like, I hear writers talk about it, and it's an often tough thing when you want to be sentimental. Like, the utter honesty that these characters need to portray is a tough thing to convey without it feeling cringy or feeling forced.
Yeah.
In some sort of way. And it was really beautiful to see how this movie earned those moments and portrayed them in a way that was very raw, real, and sentimental. But at the same time, because it was her talking to a mouse, it felt unique. Like, it felt like I've seen this scene before, but it's like under a very different context because we don't even know if he can understand her.
Yeah.
And it's that thing of like, is he going to come back? And it's like, I poured my heart out, and it's like, nothing. Like, you know, is it going to be one of those scenes? But then him coming back and repeating a line back to her was just such a brilliant way to be like, I heard you.
Yeah. I really liked that.
And then I also love the fact that he just was so unapologetically like, yeah, no, I'm in love with this person. Fuck this other person. Like, I love how he didn't have this, I love you, but I still love her. It's this thing of going, no, fuck that. You show me the real thing over here. I'm going to go let this person know that I really don't give a shit. I also do love the moment when he goes over there and the guy pulls his cane up ready to go. And then Tristan just pulls out his sword and just does that really effortless, like, and then he's just like, you really want to do this?
Yeah.
And
it's like, you guys are perfect for each other. Bye.
But anyway,
she'll be fine. She'll be fine.
She'll be fine. She'll be fine.
He's overrated.
But going with that, as we wrap up, let's transfer over to a little bit.
Yes, as we wrap up. After I hear that,
as we wrap up, well, I don't disagree, but I think Henry Cavill's lovely and brilliant.
He's for the male gaze.
But I think that the male gaze is very obsessed with Henry Cavill and don't think of any other actors when they fan cast anything now. But anyway, moving on to Cinema a la carte. Now, in this segment of our lovely little podcast, it's a new segment that we do where we try to recommend a film that this film reminded us of, one that maybe you hadn't seen, one that possibly we've covered in the past, or things there, just something that pairs well with this, like a fine wine with a nice steak dinner. All right, so as we go on, Neff, let's start off with you, my friend.
Well,
what are you pairing today?
Well, I think that I've got a pretty good combination of films for you. I think that if you have seen this film and you want something that feels similar, Pirates of the Caribbean, particularly The Curse of the Black Pearl, is a really great place to start if you want that swashbuckling adventure kind of vibe. Even the second film is really great for that. Honestly, the Pirates of the Caribbean trilogy is delicious. So I love that. The other one is one that we've actually checked out on the podcast before, which is Legend, directed by Ridley Scott and starring Tom Cruise, particularly the European cut, because I know you watched the American cut, Kay, and it wasn't as good. But the European cut is awesome. It sets the tone a lot better, and it has that storybook fantasy feel that this has. You have fantasy like Lord of the Rings that doesn't feel like a book, if you know what I mean. It just feels like a story. Where here, I do feel like I'm being presented what probably is scene for scene, or panel for panel, the graphic novel. So I love that pairing. What about you, Kay?
Well, you know, with such a delectable and fun meal as this, I felt you needed to go with something very similar. And I went with something that was a little bit more on the sci-fi side of things. I did also go with, obviously, I think that if you like this, you'll like Good Omens. That's one that I would think that, but being Neil Gaiman, I feel like anybody who's watched this has also watched Good Omens. But the one that occurred to me was there we are, and the one thing that I really wanted to recommend was Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Awesome.
I feel this film very much fits that exact same tone. If you're looking for something that takes itself seriously, but not too seriously, something that has that insane vibe with singing dolphins and, you know, all these other insane things with life, then I think you're going to find that Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is your perfect pairing with this film.
Beautiful.
And now, Marley, your taste?
Well, one, you want to get a Henry Cavill film, and no, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Oh,
Just kidding.
the snap.
The only good thing he
and
ever
then,
did was reload his fists.
Then you're gonna want to watch
Man
the
of Steel.
Kingsman,
Yeah.
Golden Circle. No, I'm just kidding.
Fucking
Oh, yeah.
First of all, I love this little end tag that you have of just pairing like movies. I just want to give you guys a compliment on that. I love
it's
like
okay.
this little.
Great idea.
But yeah, this was I've been kind of thinking about this like pretty much the entire time we've been recording, and I decided to go a little bit sci-fi in a way, and it was a movie that I watched like before watching Stardust, before to prepare like for this recording, and that is Nicolas Cage's Dream Scenario.
Ooh,
I feel like
nice.
Dream Scenario has like that kind of like same kind of like wonder like vibes, and probably not like necessarily the same tone, but it's definitely got like it's got me kind of wanting to keep pushing on like with the story. Like it has me intrigued, and that's what Stardust always had. That's what Stardust always had on me, where it's just like I need to know more. I need to know more about these characters. But
that's really
I don't
cool.
want to give too much away about Dream Scenario because it is a trip. Much
I have heard.
film.
Yeah.
But definitely go check it out. It's in theaters now. I believe it's opening wide a little later.
Yeah, it's like January 10 or something for me in Australia because everything comes out late. That's really cool.
My birthday.
Yeah,
My birthday.
well, there you go. Happy birthday in advance.
All right.
So, that kind of brings us to the end of this episode. We'll go around and just remind people where they can find us. Like we said, this episode's going to be available to stream on demand over the next couple of days, and all our backlog is available on anywhere you get your podcasts as well. So be sure to check us out. You can find me at On Second Thought. Easiest way to do that is through Instagram, and then use the link in bio to find me everywhere else, so you can see the different ways I typed my name. But I'm on TikTok, Instagram. They're kind of the main ones. So yeah, you can find me at any of those if you like. Want to see my face a little bit more. And what about you, Kate? Where can we find you?
Well, you can find me at Movie Man Opinions on pretty much any platform. Likewise, you might want to just go in and type in my name into Instagram, and then you can find that little link in bio and find out all the fun stuff that I'm doing over there. However, if you guys want to check us out on, obviously here we're on all the platforms, but Marley, plug your show, plug everything there. Where can people find you if they haven't already followed you?
People haven't gotten annoyed with me by the end of this podcast. You can follow me pretty much anywhere on social medias with the username at Marley Loves Film. I'm just talking about all types of film, like on all the social medias, Instagram, TikTok, not Twitter. I'm not on that. I'm on Threads.
Fair enough.
X, formerly Twitter.
Threading about films on, yeah. And people can also listen to my podcast as well, the Real Lovers podcast, where I'm currently watching all of the movies in the Letterboxd Top 250.
That's
I just
Real with
released
2 E's.
Goodfellas. Yeah, Real with 2 E's. I just released the Goodfellas episode, and coming up this Monday, I have a sit-down talk with Joshua Brommer he was the property master on Everything Everywhere All at Once, and the new Candy Cane Lane.
Cool.
The new Candy Cane Lane film on Amazon Prime Video, which
Amazing.
is fantastic. Everyone should go check out. So,
Wicked.
but yeah.
That's awesome. Congrats on getting that
Absolutely.
the creator as well, man. That's wicked. So yeah, guys, definitely check out Real Lovers. You will have a good time.
Absolutely. And last thing, obviously, Naf also was on Marley's show at some point. Talked about Coco. So if you want to listen, that is in our feed as well as on obviously on Marley's feed.
Yeah.
So if you want to listen to that, great episode, great collaboration. I'm hoping to hop on with him at some point soon too. We got to find a film to do that with, but I would love to do it.
Yeah.
So,
well, we promised at the start of the episode that we would let people know what they need to watch next too. And next week is going to be our Christmas special. So if you've been on the Instagram, you've seen a couple of little teasers about that. And we can confirm that this week we're going to be watching Die Hard, the first Die Hard. I have never seen the film before, and there's a 35th anniversary 4K remaster screening in IMAX in Melbourne, which you guys would have heard me talk about. It's the biggest cinema screen in the Southern Hemisphere. So
Yeah,
really
we've heard
excited
it.
to go check that out and see it there for the first time. The same way I saw Jaws there for the first time and E.T. for the first time. Okay, in
son
case
of a
you
bitch.
wanted to remember that.
You're just mad I said Last Jedi before you got a chance.
Hey, I still said it, so it doesn't matter. I still win. I'm
You
still winning,
forgot
baby.
about it.
So
You forgot about it in your Hell or High Water episode. That's all I'm saying. And that's
hey, did you listen to the edited version? Because I added in some cheeky little points in there. So, with that, Kay, why don't you take us out in my favorite way possible? I think you probably got an email from one of your mates.
Oh, absolutely. Well, it just popped up here. Let's see here. Well, as anyone here likes to say, my mate Raglan, he always likes to, come in and chime in
His
over
cousin
here.
was
And
on
he did
last
have
week.
one little thing there. Oh, yeah. Really? He was?
Yeah, his cousin
Oh,
Daglin.
fabulous. Oh, Daglin. Oh, what a guy. And Raglan wants you all to know that an old apple sickens me.